Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to the 5th video in my Crusader Kings 2 tutorial for beginners series. In the last video the event actually fired where our mother went off and killed Charlemagne, the king of Middle Francia, which now means we inherit the entire realm. So we've got both titles. We are now the king of West Francia as well as the king of Middle Francia. And we've got a couple of issues going on here. Mostly is that we are over our vassal limit now. We're only allowed to have a maximum of 35 vassals and we currently have 42. And this gives us less taxes from our levies and vassals. And we also risk losing vassals if our character dies. So I did talk about it in one of the first videos that there are two limits on the number of things you can have. There's your domain, the number of direct holdings you can have. Now that's if you are the count of a province, because if you are the count of a county you will own one of the buildings in it. So for example, if we go and look at Vermandois, we can see that we're the count of Vermandois, which means that we own the barony of Rethel. So that counts as a direct holding. It's got our flag in the top left hand corner. That'll be one of the 7. And you can actually see on the outliner that I have out here, you can see all of the other ones that we have. So there's quite a few around that we might want to keep. The good thing to remember is that if you actually have your own domain, is that you get like 100% of the tax money and you get 100% of the levy from them. So having your own domain is very, very important to have. And these are the buildings that you're going to want to invest money in to build improvements on them, which will increase the manpower and increase the tax that you get from them and stuff like that. So it's very, very useful to have them. As you can see, my tax output, my best tax city is actually this county up here, which is where I'm actually collecting my taxes from. So it's very important to sort of keep these places in your domain as much as possible. But the second is the vassal. Now, your vassals are basically anyone that report directly to you. So if you are a count, if you own a county, like I do here, I've got the bishopric of Laon and I've got the city of St. Quentin. Now, both of these are my vassals because I own this county. It's my county, I'm the count, and they are my vassals. If I own a duchy, is that one, do I own any duchies? Do I have any duchy titles to my name? No, I don't have any duchy titles. If I held any duchy titles, then all of the counts within that duchy would be my vassals. And because I own a kingdom, any dukes within that kingdom are my vassals. And any counties that aren't part of a duchy are also my vassals. So if we actually look on the map, you can see there's a lot of little shields going on. This big shield in the middle, that's us. That's the kingdom of Francia. These slightly smaller shields, this one, these two up here, and these 3 on this side, or another one down at the bottom. These are dukes, these are duchies. And the slightly smaller ones, all these little ones that are dotted everywhere else, these are all the individual counties. Now, the only ones that show are the ones that are your vassals. And if you actually, there's a button down here somewhere, direct vassals. So if we actually click on that, you can see who are the vassals of who. And you can see what belongs to each other. So as you can see, this one, this actual, this county here, Dijon, this duchy, sorry, all of these guys are actually his vassals. So we don't have to worry about that. But if we actually look at us, we have a lot of guys that are reporting directly to us. There are an awful lot of counts up here. So what we want to do is we want to reduce the number of direct vassals that we have. Now, there's a couple of different ways that we can do that. And it's worth doing it because, one, you want to be below your limit. But it's also worth noting that what you will find... and I'm not sure if we've got one here that applies. I'm just having a look around the map to see if there's actually a situation where this does apply, but I can't see one. No, it doesn't look like there is. What you will sometimes have is you'll have a situation where you will have a duke who owns a duchy. But one of the counties, one of the counts will be your vassal directly. Now, the Duke of that duchy will be upset because they will say that they feel like they should be the ruler of that particular count. That count should be their vassal, not yours. And if that's the case, you can actually go to that duke and you can transfer the vassal of that county to the duke himself. So it's a good way to get some extra reputation, some positive opinion with the dukes of specific duchies. And so let's go and have a look and see what we can do. I'm going to put it on the de jure duchies map mode for a while, which is basically very similar to the direct vassals, but it's a good way of trying to sort of get all these things together. So as you can see, what we've got here is... Right, what are you? You are my direct liege. So we've got three provinces here that are all part of the same... three provinces here that are all part of the same duchy. Now, there isn't a Duke of Valois, or Valos. I think it's Valois. If we actually mouse over this, you can see there's a huge number of titles that we can create. And we can actually do it, I think, by clicking on that. Yeah, so the Duchy of Valois doesn't actually exist. Now, we do control 100%. We control more than 51% of its de jure counties, which is all you need to create a duchy. We could go ahead and create this duchy, but it wouldn't really reduce the number of vassals we have, because it would make us the duke. And these two vassals would still be our vassals anyway. And we could then give the duchy to somebody else, but I don't really want to give away my capital, unless I decide that I do and I want to move my capital up here to Holland. But that's not something that we want to do. So what I want to try and do is find duchies or places that could be duchies where I have a lot of direct vassals. This one over here, Normandy, is a very, very good example, because you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 5 different counties, all within one de jure duchy. And this guy reports to me. He's my vassal. This guy reports to me. This guy reports to me. This guy reports to me. And this guy reports to me. Now, you might be asking, why isn't there a shield on this one? Because they're both owned by the same guy. Now, if you actually look here, his opinion of me is -34. My opinion of him is -3. Do any of these guys like me particularly? He likes me a fair bit. He doesn't mind me at all. He doesn't like me. Right, so out of all these, it's actually this guy here, Count Widow of Mortain. He actually likes me. He likes me a fair amount. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to take this duchy, which doesn't yet exist. Because if we actually mouse over it, we should see the Duchy of Normandy. Yeah, it's on that list. It's down there. It's about halfway down. So if I click on the Duchy of Normandy, as you can see, the de jure realm of the Duchy of Normandy, by clicking the de jure button, contains those 5 provinces. So it's a fairly big province, a fairly big duchy. I'm going to create it now. Creating it will cost me 193 gold, which is a significant amount because I don't have a huge amount of gold going on right now. But it will give me 200 prestige, and prestige is always nice. And this is why you always want to try and find the bigger duchies with the most counts in them, because it costs quite a bit of money to make them. So you always want to try and do it efficiently. So I'm going to go ahead. So remember, at the moment, I have 42 vassals. So let's go ahead and create this duchy. Okay, so we've now created the title of the Duchy of Normandy. Now, I still have 42 vassals, because even though this duchy exists, these guys are still all my vassals. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to this guy, because he's the one that likes me the most out of all of them. If you actually look at this guy now as well, he might have a... Yeah, desires the Duchy of Normandy. This guy wants the Duchy of Normandy because he has 2 counties in there. He also doesn't like us, so he can go and do one. So what I'm going to do is go to this guy. I'm going to go to this guy because he has a better opinion of me. I'm going to right-click on him, and I'm going to grant him a landed title. Now, he already has a landed title. He's already the Count of Mortain. But I'm going to grant him a landed title. And I'm going to grant him the Duchy of Normandy. Now, that will make him the Duke of Normandy. But what I also want to happen is, if I leave it as it is, he will become the Duke of Normandy, but these counties within Normandy will still be my vassals. So I'm going to click this button that says include lower titles, and that will mean that all of the people that are within this duchy will become his vassals. So watch the number, we're at 42 of 35. I'm going to send that out. Now goes down to 40. Now we only lost 2. The reason we only lost 2 is because these 2 counts are now his vassals. Obviously, he's now a duke, so he's still my vassal. So we didn't lose 3. We just lost the 2. There's another one here, this guy. Now this guy, I'm still his liege. And I don't know why I'm still his liege, because he is in the wrong duchy, basically. So what I'm going to do, this guy is Count Nibelung. Count Nibelung of Amenz. So I'm going to go to this guy again, and I'm going to go transfer vassalage, and click on this little button, and sort by rank, and I want to find my there he is, Nibelung, Count of Amenz. Click on him, and click send. So now this guy, who was the Count of Amenz, and I think it was because he's actually the Count of both of the... This is the weird thing, you see. You've got a guy who is a Count of 2 different counties in 2 different duchies, which makes it a little bit different. But I didn't want him to be my vassal, because I'm trying to reduce my vassal limit. So I've transferred the vassalage of him over to this guy. Now, this has a couple of really useful effects. One, this guy doesn't like me very much. I'm not sure if it actually shows him his opinion of me. There we go. Opinion of Carl. So his opinion of me is negative 36. However, his opinion of his liege, is minus 10. I don't have to bother keeping this guy happy now. He's no longer my vassal. He's Widow's vassal. It's Widow that has to worry about keeping that guy happy, not me. But as a fantastic result, Widow's opinion of me is now plus 100. I gave him a duchy. It gives me plus 60. I transferred a vassal to him. It gives me plus 20. So this guy really, really likes me because of that. Also now, if we go into our realm tree, you can actually see that this guy should appear on this list because he is now controlling a duchy. There he is, Widow. He's still only got 13% relative strength of our army, so he's still only got nearly 800 men that he could give to us. But he already likes us, and he may become more powerful as time goes on. There's a few people here that don't like us. Now, we were sucking up to this guy before. We still are. He doesn't like us for various reasons. Prove relations is still there. He's angry about something. I don't really care. But now we've actually got some... Don't forget, we've now got some new duchies because we've inherited some new lands. So our most powerful duchy at the moment is actually this guy. The Duke of Charlemagne, so Germany basically, which is down here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my Chancellor, and my Chancellor doesn't like me much anyway, but I'm going to put him over here and he can try and sort of suck up to that guy. Now, whenever you do manage to take over another kingdom, like we have done here, it's well worth having a look and seeing if you can appoint any new members of staff to your council, because what you've got to remember now is you've actually just inherited... the other kingdom's council, so you've got a lot more people to choose from. So this guy has a diplomacy of 18 and he really doesn't like me. This guy has a diplomacy of 19 and he actually does like me. He certainly likes me a lot more than this guy does, and he actually wants to become Chancellor. He has the ambition to become Chancellor, so if I grant him that ambition, his diplomacy should go up to 20. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose this guy. And didn't actually go up for some strange reason. What I am going to do as well is I'm going to reward him an honorary title. I don't have any free ones to give him. I'm not going to give him Court Jester because that's a negative one. But he certainly likes me a little bit more. Maybe we'll make him a duke or something later on. But for the meantime, he's going to improve diplomatic relations in Charlemagne. Let's look at our Marshal. Marshal's 21. He always appears at the top. The best one we've got to replace him is a 16, so we won't be replacing our Marshal. Our Steward has stewardship of 14. We've got a guy here who has 24. Look at that. Well done, my fellow. You are my new steward. Highest tax base we have so far out of anywhere is one of these two provinces. Probably is still going to be Friesland. So we are going to take our steward and you're going to go and collect taxes there. Spymaster is still our mother with 23. I doubt anyone's going to beat that. Last time I played as West Francia, when I did my first game just to sort of try things out, she actually had a intrigue of 30. And our court chaplain has an intrigue of 18, which is currently the best that we can get. So we've pretty much sorted out our council. Now, we're still over our vassal limit. We do need to sort that out. We don't really have enough money to actually start or create another duchy. We could expel the Jews and get some more money. Probably not the best idea. Let's just have a look at our titles. We don't actually own any duchies here. So we've got a little bit of a problem in that regard. One thing we could do is we could attempt to change law. We could change centralization. Now, the way centralization works, the more you increase it, you get a bigger domain size but less vassalage. Now, at the moment, we have vassal limit plus 10. We still only have 35. If I was to increase centralization, it'd have the opposite effect. The tooltip's a little bit confusing because if I mouse over low centralization, it says domain size plus 1, vassal limit plus 5, which to most people would make you think, okay, so I'm going to get an extra 1 to my domain size and I'm going to get an extra 5 to my vassal limit. But it doesn't work that way. Because if you look at minimum, it says vassal limit plus 10. So, medium, you get the default number of vassals, which for me would be 25. So, base is 1, king rank base plus 20, ruler diplomacy bonus plus 5, laws plus 10. So, think about it. The base is 1. My king rank is base times 20. So, that's 20 vassals. Ruler diplomacy bonus, because the higher your diplomatic bonus, the more vassals you can have, is 5. That gives me 25. I then get plus 10 from laws, making me up to 35. So that's decentralized, vassal limit plus 10. If I click low centralization, that vassal limit goes down from plus 10 to just plus 5. And my domain limit goes up by plus 1, because currently it's at 0, it's at base. So that's not going to be very useful for me at all. So we can't really do that. One thing that you might want to do as well in your game, and this is certainly easier with smaller kingdoms because you can only do this under certain circumstances. The ruler has to reign for 10 years, and also you have to have no vassal that is a count or above. So it doesn't matter about bishops and baronies and things, but counts, dukes and above. None of them have to have a negative opinion of you. If they all have a positive opinion, it will allow you to change your sort of laws for how things are inherited. Now, currently, our gender laws are agnatic. So, in agnatic, the titles of the ruler are divided among his children, with the oldest getting the primary title. If the ruler has no children who can inherit, the law defaults to primogeniture. You can get no prestige penalty for having unlanded sons. And you have a 30% larger domain. Gavelkind is a very popular law with everyone except the oldest child. Destruction of the titles while under Gavelkind succession is not allowed. Only males can inherit. So that's agnatic. So under agnatic, only males can inherit. There's also agnatic cognatic, which means that women can inherit, but only if there are no eligible males. So the men take priority. If there's no men to take the title, it'll go to a woman. And there's also absolute cognatic. Women inherit on the same grounds that men do. So if the firstborn child, if the oldest child is a woman, she would be the heir under the absolute cognatic law. There is another one available, not for most people. There's very, very few sort of cultures in the game that support it. I believe it's the Basque culture that supports it. The Basque culture have... No, it's not Asturias. Not sure where it tells me now. But the Basque culture do have the option of I can't remember what it's called, but basically it works the opposite way to agnatic, where the females inherit, not the male. So it's like a matriarchy, basically. Then you have your succession laws, which is how things are divided. So at the moment, we are Gavelkind. And Gavelkind means that the primary title, which in this case would be the Kingdom of West Francia, would go to our heir, our oldest son. But any additional titles, like the Kingdom of Middle Francia, that would then go to the pretenders. So if you are Gavelkind, there's a real danger that on death the kingdom could be split if there is more than one person who has a claim on any of those titles. You can go to elective Gavelkind, which basically means people can sort of vote who they want titles to go to. Seniority will favour the oldest member of the dynasty, and they will inherit all titles. You have primogeniture, where the oldest child of the ruler inherits all titles. Ultimogeniture, which is the opposite, the youngest child inherits. And then you've got things like elective monarchy as well. So sometimes it can be useful to go for like primogeniture or elective Gavelkind, just so you can have a little bit more control over who inherits, because the last thing you want to do, and it's very easy as Charlemagne to end up being the King of West Francia, the King of Middle Francia, the King of Bavaria, the King of Lombardia, and you create something like you might create the Holy Roman Empire, for example, which is one of the options that you do get as Charlemagne. You can go in and you can create the Holy Roman Empire. And there is a list of things there. You need to be the King of Italy or the Emperor of Italia. So you can create the Holy Roman Empire. Or maybe we just create the Kingdom of France, the Kingdom of Francia. The Empire of Francia. Now, if we created the Empire of Francia and we died, our oldest son would inherit the Empire of Francia, but then the second son might actually inherit the Kingdom of Middle Francia. So you start ending up with things being a little bit sort of split and fragmented. But I've waffled on long enough. Let's just see if we can just sort out the rest of this problem. We only have to get rid of a few more vassals. We do have another duchy over here, which we can't really create, unfortunately. The Duchy of Luxembourg. Yeah, we can't actually afford the money. The Duchy of Luxembourg doesn't exist. I was just having a look around to see if there are any duchies that have like Savoy here. You are the Duke of Savoy, and then we've got... So here's one we could get rid of. We've got the Duchy of Savoy, because it has a duke. And then we've got Genevieve, which actually has a... doesn't say my vassal directly. I own that directly, which doesn't help. Yeah, it doesn't say my vassal. So, we've got the Duke of Savoy, and then we've got Genevieve that has a count, and he's my direct vassal. Now, if we actually look at the Duke of Burgundy here, he will probably, desires the county of Bourgogne, which is actually mine anyway. So I don't want to give him that because it's mine. Doesn't say anything about Genevieve, which is a surprise. But what I can do... Who are you? You are Count Frederick. I'm going to go to this guy, transfer vassalage, and sort by... where's Frederick? There you are, Count of Genevieve. So if I click on you, and that will transfer him over. I've now gone down to 38. So that should make this guy a little tiny bit happier. I get a plus 20 modifier for the transference of a vassalage. So I need to have a look around and see if there are a few more of those that that I could do. There probably aren't. There's one over here because we've actually inherited Count Hermeneld of Boulogne, which is part of Flanders. So if we go to the Duke of Flanders and we transfer vassalage, let's sort by rank, and we want the Duke of Boulogne, which is you. He doesn't like us very much either, so that's fine. We'll transfer that across. That's got us down to 37, so we're doing well. There's only a couple more that we need to do. We could probably fix the problem if we could create one more duchy. Don't think that's going to work. Here's one here. We have the Duke of Gascogne and the Count of Bern. So what's your name, my good fellow? You are Loop of Dax. So if we go into here, transfer vassalage, click on you, Loop of decks. He doesn't like us either. That's fine. We'll transfer you away. You're now somebody else's problem. That's got us down to 36. We only have to get rid of one more. It's a little bit difficult because I can't see any other duchies that have random random counts around. This one here, who are all these guys? Who do you report to? You all report to the Duke of Upper Burgundy. Ah, so there is a Duke of Burgundy. Right, okay, sometimes what will happen is you will get a Duke who holds 2 titles. So the Duke of Upper Burgundy actually lives in the Duchy of Savoy, but he's not the Duke of Savoy. Which is a little bit strange. If we just click on him, you can see that he is the Duke of Upper Burgundy, and he is the Count of Savoy, but he's moved his capital there. That's why that shield actually appears above Savoy, because that's where his capital is. So even that's the reason why he didn't really want Genevieve, because even though Genevieve is in the same duchy where his capital is, it's not his duchy. However, this guy is within his duchy. This is the Duchy of Dauphine. So if we take this guy, who is Count Vuodo of Lyon, give him to this guy, transfer vassalage, sort by rank, Count Vuodo of Lyon, we'll transfer that over. And now we are at our vassal limit, so we'll no longer take a penalty. He likes us a little bit more because we've transferred yet another vassal to him. So he now he still doesn't like us, but he doesn't like us less. What we can do in the future maybe is we'll actually create the Duchy of Savoy and give him that as well. There's no reason why a duke can't hold more than one duchy. There is a penalty if you hold, I think it's more than 3 duke titles. And then when we get the money, what we'll start to do is we'll take some of these other ones, like we'll take the Duchy of Orleans, for example, because we've got 4 different counts there that are all our direct vassals. So we could go and make that a duchy, give the duchy title to one person, and that would get rid of 3 vassals. I mean, obviously, we still benefit from them, but that means we have less people that we have to suck up to. We only have to worry about sucking up to our direct vassals, not everybody else's vassals. But that wasn't what I actually wanted to cover in today's video, but obviously the chain of events that fired is basically what made that happen. A couple of things that are worth noting if we just look at the current pop-ups we've got. A lot of titles that we can create. We can also create the Kingdom of Burgundy, the Kingdom of Aquitaine, the Kingdom of East Francia, the Kingdom of Frisia. So we can actually create a hell of a lot of kingdoms at the moment. Now, the problem is you can give those kingdoms to other people, but what you have to remember is if you give a kingdom to someone else, they become the same rank as you, because I'm currently the king, which would mean they would become independent, and therefore they would break away from my realm. However, if I become an emperor, and the kingdom falls within the emperor, I can give those kingdom titles to other people, and even though they will have direct control over the counts and dukes below them, I will have direct control over them as emperor. And it's very easy as Charlemagne, particularly, you know, what happened in reality, in history, is Charlemagne reunited Eastern Europe. Basically, everything that is modern-day Italy, France, Germany, Austria, it all became part of what was basically the Holy Roman Empire when Charlemagne sort of fixed the divide and got everything back together. He was crowned the Eastern Roman Empire emperor in 779 or something like that. I can't remember the exact date. My history's a little bit rusty, but point is very easy as Charlemagne to just go and take over the majority of Europe and have this massive empire. The problem is, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of CK2 players say don't play your first game as a large empire, because the problem is you've only got one chancellor, wherever he is, you've only got one chancellor to go around sucking up to people, and you've only got so much money to throw out bribes. And the bigger your empire gets, you are going to end up with more and more people who dislike you. I mean, this guy, look at me. Well, we fired him from the council. This was the guy who was our chancellor. We fired him, so he really doesn't like me at all. But he's my fourth most powerful duke at the moment. So, you know, I want to try and make him happy, or at least kill him off. Quite a few of my vassals are unhappy with me. And you will also start getting factions that can potentially rise up against you. And these factions will be people who don't like you, who want independence. So we've got, for example, we've got the Duke of Gascoigne. The Duke of Gascoigne, he wants independence. And he's also got the support of the Duke of Aquitaine, who's the guy that we just looked at and decided he really doesn't like us. Now, between the two of them, they've got 1,634 men, which is 31.5% of my relative power. So you really do need to keep your eye on these factions. You can remove them by, you can either kill people off that are part of it so that they can no longer take part. You can make the people happy enough so that they decide that they no longer want to rise up against you and they'll leave you alone. The other option is one of your staff. Which one is it? Is it the Marshal? Or it might be the Spy Master. Yeah, Spy Master. Vassal discouraged from joining factions. So you can actually send your Spy Master to a particular vassal. So what I could do, if I go and have a look at that faction, and this guy has joined it, and I'd, much prefer that that he didn't, because he's quite powerful. Let's just go and find out where he is again. He's down here. So I could go and send my Spy Master to, on this one, plot discovery chance plus 23%, but vassal encouraged from joining your factions, 46.61% chance yearly. Send her to his capital, because that's where he is, and she will hopefully then discourage him from being part of that. Sometimes you do get events that let you threaten people or blackmail them or bribe them and do stuff like that to get rid of them, but no such luck at this point in the game. Vassal inheritance warning. There are vassals with worrisome lines of succession. On death, their titles might pass from your realm. So we've got Count Lutfrid of Bardon, which is this guy. And the main reason that it's actually saying that that's a worry is that his heir is actually the King of Bavaria, which basically means... That was the wrong button. If this guy dies, this county could revert to Bavaria, because it's the King of Bavaria who would inherit it. So things might change if this guy has a son, or maybe we can take it from him. You can change the laws. I think it's Crown Authority. If Crown Authority goes up to high, vassal titles can no longer pass outside of the realm through inheritance. But of course, you do get a -20 feudal vassal opinion, and we can't change... each ruler can only change Crown Authority once. We've already done it once, so we can't do that again. And the other thing is we can press de jure ducal claims. So we could press a claim on Nice for the Duke of Provence. So if we actually look at the de jure duchies map, we can actually see that Nice, which is currently part of Lombardy, actually belongs to the de jure duchy of Provence. And because the Duke of Provence has 3 out of 4 of the counties, so he has over the 51%, it means he can press a de jure claim, a ducal claim on Nice. We also have, for Duke Radulf the Hunter, because again, the Duchy of Thuringia, he owns 2 of the provinces, which means he owns more than 51%, and Göttingen is part of that duchy. So they are 2 people we could declare war on. We'll look at declaring wars in the next video, because I have prattled on for long enough, but hopefully now, after the first 4 videos, you'll understand the interface. You'll understand how vassals work, both baronies, bishoprics, cities, counties, and duchies. You'll understand about how you can manage your vassal limit, and you'll understand how to use and appoint your court, and understand how to raise and use your armies. And that should be enough to get you going. There's probably only going to be 1 or 2 more videos in this series, because they have been quite long. And like I said, they are designed more just to give you the basics. So for people that have been watching these and you're a little bit bored because there's not a lot of gameplay going on, I apologise for that, but this is more of a sort of a tutorial instructional set. Once I finish doing this series of videos, I will go and do a playthrough. I might even play through. I've already had a go at doing it once. I might play through as the Duke of Leicester, because Leicester is where I live. For those of you who aren't aware, I'm from Leicester in the United Kingdom, and it might be fun just to play as the Duke of Leicester and see if we can form the Britannia Empire. That might be a little bit fun to do. Who knows, maybe I'll pick someone totally random, but like I said, there'll be 1 or 2 more videos on this series. There are a few things that I still want to cover. I want to talk a little bit more about intrigue and choosing plots, dealing with prisoners, some of the decisions that we can take. I haven't talked about technology yet in any real detail, so I will go through things like that, and we'll play on this game for a little bit more just so we can see what we can do and just see how it evolves. May have to deal with a few rebellions and a bit of heresy and stuff like that, but once we've got those basics covered, we'll put this series to bed, and then we'll go and we'll actually do a let's play. And I mean, when I started doing this series last week, I'd only put about 10 hours into the game, and in the last 4 or 5 days, I've now put like over 30 hours into the game. So I'm having a great time with it. I'm really enjoying it. It's very absorbing. The last week I've been going to bed at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, because the game just keeps me up wanting to play more. And I hope that any of you guys that get into it feel the same way about it, because it really is a fun game when you start getting into it. But that's going to be it for this video. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. Hope you have enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Until then, goodbye for now.